Hello and welcome to another Challenge Warlord Gold Strategy Guide. My name is Renstaud and today we will be covering the Bloodmaul Slagmines. The timer in this place is pretty generous for the most part, but what you want to do is pull both these packs at the same time. A melee especially need to be mindful of their positioning because the slams that the ogres do deal a lot of damage and could cause you death. So pretty much you want to focus on the caster that's over there at the middle of the bridge that's about to drop some poor slave off into the lava. He's the first that has to go. The casters can go last, so focus down everything you can, cycle stuns, interrupt any cast that you can, and just be sure you get out of Crush. You need to get out of Crush ASAP. Now, one of the drawbacks of doing a big pull like this at the start is because the ogres that cast Crush, they like to leap, obviously. So your ranged, even your healer, needs to be mindful of flying ogres. Because again, when they land on you, they will rock your world. But once this bridge is cleared, you can move on to the next pack. Now we opted to start to the left side first, and we'll get to that reason of that later. But again, right here with this pack, you just want to pull everything as it is, get interrupts off, dispel any abilities that you can remove in rages. If you got a hunter that can trank shot, if you're able to dispel, do that if you can. You can actually opt to go ahead and pull the two pats that's coming by, but we chose to just let them go on their own while we bursted this little group down right here. And once these asshats are dead, we pretty much just haul ass to the next group and just pull everything here together. We did play it somewhat safe when we did this place, just because the amount of tank damage and group damage that went out on the few attempts we did was very sporadic. On some attempts it felt like we was taking 0 damage, on others it felt like we was getting one shot. So we figured that we would focus more on single target bursts for key adds and just pull slowly. We took it a little bit slowly. So now we're just gonna keep going here, doing 2 to 4 at a time at best. So we're just finishing off these here before we do this little fire gauntlet here. Now the little fire gauntlet coming up to the mini boss, the elemental, there is a lot of group damage that goes out there. So everyone in the group needs to be popping personal CDs. Use a health potion to help your healer out. Pop anything you've got to help reduce incoming damage, because it is quite a bit that can come through, and blow up the handful of pats that's through here as well. Try to get them down quickly before you pull the mini boss. The mini boss that's up ahead, just that's stationary, he does pretty much almost no damage to a degree. The reason I say that is because you're going to be pulling a lot of this shit on top of him. So it can be difficult because there's so much orange, so much friggin' red in this place. It'll be hard to see the lava waterfall that he casts or whatever. So you got to be sure not to be standing in or near that. It actually has a slight margin of error in terms of you can actually be standing away from it and it still clips you somehow. So be mindful of your positioning once you pull this guy. You'll see the streams coming down from the sky that I was talking about there. It's not lava, it's just the little fire tornadoes. Those things do a lot of damage if you get clipped by one. So again, be mindful of your positioning. And this can be pretty rough on melee, especially if you get some bad RNG with them all being clustered up right on top of the boss. On this run, we actually got very lucky that they spread out away from us. On one of the previous runs, we got decimated. Our monk, he got one shot pretty much because like 4 of them, 6 of them were just clumped on top of one another. It was just, he did everything he could to avoid it. It even occurred to me, it happened to me. I got blown up, and it's just, we thought he was only casting one when in fact he had every fucking cast stacked on top of one another. So just be prepared for that. If you only see 1 or 2 out, most likely they're all stacked. And we just continue, again, as you see right here, we're just progressing through the next pack of trash. Once the little mini boss over here is dead with Big Ad, we just haul ass over here. Now, we're going to use Army of the Dead for this particular pack, because what's going to happen here is this asshat right here is going to cast fear on us, and on one run we actually got blown up by him during the fear. So go to town, get him down ASAP. If he does get a fear off and he dies from Army assisting with damage, that's fine. If not, be prepared to pop something to either break fear or to at least survive the stun. But right there, as you've seen, we blew up this pack with relative ease. And we should still have a little bit of our army up, which is good. And what we're going to do here, since we're kind of stuck in this trash here, to finish them off, pull the boss right away. So we really didn't get a good chance to pre-pot or pot, because we pretty much stayed in combat to the pull. But that's fine. I mean, this boss goes down relatively fast. It goes down pretty easily. You can dark stem his first cast, which I dark stemmed there, put that big fire dot up on him, and it melts him. It does so much damage. So if you have a DK, be sure when you pull, go ahead and get dark stem up on him as quickly as possible so you can steal that cast. So he goes down with relative ease. You can opt to ignore the elementals that are spawned, the rock and the lava elemental that spawned during this fight. They pretty much went down with cleave. If the group damage is too much for you, you can go ahead and blow them up, burst them down really quick, get back on the boss. But we just brought them down when we felt it was appropriate, considering that the first phase of this boss went down pretty fast, so we was able to just clean up house and focus on this asshat that just spawned right here. Now the thing you gotta watch out for is the ads that he spawns during this fight, they do shoot out the big rock spikes that go in random directions. So you can opt to blow them up pretty quickly, or you can just ignore them. If you've got strong single target burst, it's safe to go ahead and just switch real quick, blow them up. Pretty much what we was doing is we was having our ranged help with that, and when the boss would cast his AoE stun, just like then, melee in the tank, we would move over and assist with blowing them up, get them out of the picture, reduce overall group damage. But all things considering, this first boss is relatively easy. Considering most of the challenge modes, he actually felt like he did the least amount of damage. So what's good about that is your healer, which is our Renstaud Druid here, he assisted with damage where he could. Because again, the damage on the group as a whole on that first boss was practically non-existent, somewhat. So most people invis right here, and that's to go to the boss on the bridge, and that's typically because they do the boss we just killed second. But again, as I explained earlier, we decided to kill the Magma Lord first, the boss we just killed, and then backtrack over here to kill the Slaver. So we can invis at a much shorter spot and ensure that invis pot would not fall off. Because on one of our runs, we did the invis pot past the magma worm that does spawn, and our invis pot actually fell off right when we got to the bridge, which ended up causing the last pack right there, the pack that's at the bridge, to actually pull on us. So we ignored that whole side over there and just did the short end over here. And you can chain pull all of this. Just be mindful again, blow up the casters first and be sure to watch out for crush. Especially if you do opt for a very large pull. It is possible to pull this pack with the pack that's over there to the entrance to the boss room. I advise against it because again, the last thing you need going out is all the casts as well as the fear that gets cast by the big ad over here in the middle. So you don't want to quite do that, but you can opt to do so if your group is capable of handling it. Again, we chose to play it safe. So I'm going to get clipped by Crush right there because I was too slow to move out of it, so I need to open up my eyes apparently. but they'll at least demonstrate the amount of damage that can go out on a tank or even a DPS if they get hit by Crush, because you're taking a lot of damage while you're stunned. So once this pack's dead, we just go ahead and pull these assholes right here. We'll focus down this asshole in the center because he's the one that will cast the fear. Now, you can get a stun out, get them all stunned, so you can stop the cast over there from the two casters on the left and right side. But, yeah, you want to get this guy down as quickly as you can, because the last thing you want to have happen is everyone gets feared and your tank gets blown up by the casters because they can't self-heal, pop a CD or whatever. Now, just like with normal and heroic mode, when you go to activate this boss, you get these two dudes come from the left and right hand side. Just blow them up quickly because they will both cast fear. Just hope that they don't offset their fear cast. It is possible to actually get completely locked down for about 4 or 6 seconds. We actually had that happen once or twice to us on some of our previous pulls, but here was much better with our interrupts and was just able to nuke them down pretty quick. So we had no issues whatsoever. And based on your healer mana, you can just directly pull right after. Now, the big thing with this boss is when he goes to cast his Earth Crush, just be sure you're not in the line of that pillar that he casts to kick over to you, and be sure you interrupt each of his ferocious yells. It is very critical that you do that, because the last thing you need is everyone feared stunned in place or feared running around. They get hit by an Earth Crush and they get damn near obliterated. And during the fight, he'll do his Wild Slam, knock us all back just like you saw then. And again, he'll cast his ferocious yell shortly after. Now these ads that come out, just be sure you pick them up promptly. If for some reason you get more than 3 or 4 that are out running about at a time, it's safe to group up temporarily just to help your tank pick them up faster. Just again, be mindful of your positioning in case he does another one of his knockbacks. Not the one that you just saw there, but again, we can summon the pillar to kick at you. The Earth Crush. This boss is relatively easy, just like the previous boss. You just nuke him down. As long as you're getting all of the interrupts off, this boss is, to an extent, a joke. The only real group damage that goes out is from his AoE knockback when he does hit everyone with it. See, we'll go ahead and kill these two right here. You can actually invis pot past these if they've padded far up, if they're way up the path, you can actually skip these two. But since they were all the way down here, we felt it would be, at the time, it felt like it would be quicker just to go ahead and blow them up, which it actually worked out pretty nicely for us. It ensured that we would have our kill count. But as soon as these guys are dead, you'll get up further. Just be careful not to face pull. On one attempt, we weren't even within 20 yards of these guys right up here, and they activated on us. So you get about right here, you can invis pot, and you'll have plenty of invis left. And the invis pot should wear off by the time you get to the middle of the bridge for the next boss. And because we did pre-pot and pot on the pull for the boss, we still had to wait for an invis potion or two, including myself, to come off. So we invis, just run past all this shit. And this is a much shorter path on this side. This is why we chose to invis here and kill the bosses in the specific order, because this invis path right here is considerably shorter as opposed to doing it on the other side. And you can just drop out of invis and pull this boss right away. Now the thing to note here is when he summons his big lava boulders, the fiery boulders, they do just like they do on Heroic. They come back, they go away, but they end up coming back. So all you have to do is just strafe left and right. If you know how to strafe, this fight's a walk in the park. Just don't get clipped by the fiery boulders. They will knock you back and do a lot of group damage as well. And of course, because there's so much movement and because the pushback, your healer may not be able to stand still and get a cast off. Luckily, we had a druid overlord with us. They are the king of the hots, so that was pretty much a non-issue. But to help your healer out still, pop a small cooldown just to help negate the damage, because the last thing you need is just someone to die to such a simple mechanic. But that's pretty much all there is to this particular boss. It's just avoid the boulders, do the dance. That's all it is. As soon as he's dead, pretty much just haul ass. Our healer had quite a bit of mana left, considering. So we opted to pull this guy and just kill him on the way. Depending on the amount of damage that your group is taking or your tank is taking, you can kill this guy separately. They can be stunned, of course. Or you can pull him with the next pack of 2. On one of our attempts, we tried that. It actually worked against us because the knockbacks from all of them came out at the same time, and pretty much with their positioning got bounced back into the right, actually got thrown into the lava, and it was just a clusterfuck. So that's why when we did this run, we just opted to pull them separately like this. But yeah, we had pulled the full pack of 3 right here, a little bit further back, and they still sent us 1 or 2 of us flying like 20 yards. It was stupid. But it can happen. It can even happen with these 2. So just cycle your stuns, blow them up, focus one down as quickly as you can. If you've got really strong cleave, they'll both come down at around the same time. But since we have more emphasis on single target bursts, we opted, of course, to kill one at a time with cleave. Now, what's pretty cool about the pack coming up here, all these Fire Mage casters, you pull one, they all activate and come to you. And we just went ahead and armied here, popped a CD or 2 just to burst them down quicker. But the only damage that they'll actually do to you is when they shoot their little fire cleave, that right there, that's about the only group damage that will go out. So if you've got eyes and you can see, you'll never get hit by that. And your healer will be able to contribute to some DPS if capable. So you just pretty much cycle stuns and nuke these fuckers down. And if your timer is tight, we were doing pretty good on time. But if you're for some reason tight on timer, you might have to actually do a bitch pull. And what I mean by that is just pulling all of these with the boss and just letting cleave kill them. That is a high risk move, but it does work. But here, we're doing pretty damn good on time, so we just nuked these guys down, took a moment, and then pulled the boss. Now, if you've got a DK in the group, and you want your DK to get Dark Sim up on him within the first cast or 2 to steal one of his abilities, it will deal a lot of damage right here. So I was able to steal his Molten Blast. The Molten Blast, if you manage to Dark Sim it, if it crits, it can deal about 8% of his health as damage, which is amazing. Now, on CM, if you've got plenty of burst DPS, you can kind of ignore the ad, but since there's so much movement involved in this fight, we opted to just go ahead and kill the ad that came out. Now, if you can keep snares and you kind of slow up on it, you can just keep them snared and just deal with the boss more. Either way you choose to deal with it is viable. That's what's great about this fight. The ad has practically no health. They die very quick. It's just the only thing that's a pain in the ass with this fight is because there's so many uninterruptible casts that moving the boss out of all the shit on the ground makes it hard for your melee to continue DPS uptime. So this fight is truly on your range at this point. He's like right there, didn't have a mind freeze available, or any interrupt for that matter, to interrupt that cast to move him out of fire. And we almost got our melee killed because of that. And again, just be ready for that. It can happen. That's the only thing that makes this fight difficult. It's just he's casting so much, and only half of his abilities are indeed interruptible. And so yeah, we got a straggler here that's going to despawn and secure the gold. So thank you for watching. We will see you next time.